Final Hour Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles McLennan. We got Ryan Rishaug from the Garden in Boston, TD Garden, Toronto Dominion Garden down in Boston. And he'll join us in about a half an hour. And Jarome Iginla coming up here in a few moments. Catch up with Jarome.
I know it's not a big deal, but I thought I read online that the Bruins anthem singer wasn't singing today.
I haven't seen who's singing tonight. I don't know.
So they had that old guy. They used to have the guy Rennie Rancourt, the rum nose and the mustache and just the fist bump. And then they went into another guy who, listen, they sing awesome.
Great anthem singers.
Great anthem singers. But I saw from like a Boston scribe going, it sucks that he's like not doing it, which is weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Think that
he's the guy now. Like he does it every night. He's got the black suit on. And he's a bigger dude, and he belts it out.
Yeah, but I guess you bring in somebody else. I don't know, maybe a famous person. I don't know. To be honest, I didn't pay that much attention to the anthem in Montreal the other night. Was it the local Habs?
I couldn't tell you. That's a good question. I don't really know.
Yeah, there's much story about the booing and all that, but I didn't know who did the actual anthems. But I have to clarify, not that it's not that big of a deal, but it just, I saw like a local scribe from the Bruins going, they did them dirty type of thing.
Yeah,
going,
they're like,
sorry,
you're out, man.
Yeah, it's our building, but you're out, which is kind of, it is a bit weird.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and you would think, like, if you're running the program, you'd want him in there getting the place fired up.
Yeah.
If you're the Bruins, you'd be advocating for your guy because he's your guy. He's the guy who does the anthem every single game.
And he has this routine. Like, he points and does the fist pump, and like, he points at all the players. Like, he does this whole, like, it's a song and dance before he sings and after he sings, right? So I don't know. I mean, you're right. I haven't even checked, and not that we should care that much.
Well, look that up, dude. You try to find out who's doing it tonight.
Yeah.
Because, maybe they came over the top with just a big celebrity. Yeah. And, it's probably worthy of it, this type of stage.
Sure,
it's got that kind of feel to it, man. It's going to be a big one tonight. A big one tonight.
Yeah.
All right, here he is. Longtime Flame, longtime Hockey Canada representative, Hockey Hall of Famer, one of our favorites. Back on the show, here's Jarome Iginla. How you doing, Jarome?
Hey, Brian. Good. How you doing, Hayesy Noodles?
We're doing great, man. I mean, you're a Canadian. You must be jacked for tonight. What are you expecting out of this game?
Oh, very excited. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I'll tell you, I never saw that last U.S.-Canada game. I didn't see that start coming. Loved it. Not sure what to expect tonight, but I think it's going to be a great game. And I know a lot of my family friends were watching, and looking forward to a lot of bragging rights on the line.
Well, you played in you played in the Olympics. You played in World Cups. You mentioned the game on Saturday. Do you ever wish you could go back and drop the gloves, against the Americans, like in 2004 or something like that? Was that giving you kind of flashbacks? Like, man, I wish I could have fought Keith Tkachuk 20 years ago.
Well, Keith Tkachuk is a pretty big guy, pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
So, he was always hard to play against. But, no, definitely it was one of those like I say, I was shocked to see it, but it was exciting to see the passion, that energy, and it's part of what makes hockey, so special is the skill, the speed, the intensity, you never know what to expect on the physicality, and it brought back a ton of memories and how much of an honor too to play for Canada and how much fun and the whole country watching.
Well, Iggy, you talked about energy and, butterflies, all of that type of stuff heading into a game. I mean, was it a lot different? You've played in a Stanley Cup final. You've played on the biggest stages. Was it treated differently, or did you personally and the guys in the dressing room treat it differently? Could you feel a different energy before these big games?
Oh, before the big ones, for sure. I mean, playoffs, that's why it's so exciting. And then, I got to play in a few Game 7s, and it feels like those. It's the game goes quick. It's you get the nerves, you get the butterflies. The start's important. But these tournaments are different for sure. This was a little bit of a short one, but it usually takes guys a little bit to to get comfortable, to know your lines, to know where you fit in, to also, when you're a young guy, get over the awe of being, with Crosby or McDavid or guys that, even though you're peers, for me it was Lemieux, Yzerman, Sakic, playing with these guys, and then to settle in and find that groove. So, as a Canadian fan, I was pretty excited to see the last game, McDavid and McKinnon and Crosby look like they really are rolling, and I like that for our chances tonight, the whole team.
With Jarome Iginla, you mentioned kind of your idols on those teams back in the day, in 2002 in particular, and obviously Yzerman and Sakic are legends, but Mario is just like Mario. He's like Sid. Like he's the equivalent of Sid for this team. And you mentioned you're kind of in awe and you're looking up to these guys, but I'm curious how much comfort you got, Jarome, walking into the room being like, Mario's here and he's ready to play. Like, how much do you think the younger guys will draw off Sid walking in the room being like, I've been here, I've done it, I got you, follow suit? How much of that factored into your mentality in 2002 in particular, walking into the room behind Lemieux, Yzerman, Sakic, et cetera?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. 2002, anytime you play for Canada, it's a ton of pressure. It's an honor, it's exciting, but it's a ton of pressure. It is that expectation of win or bust, and that's what it is. So, at 2002, I remember we didn't have a great start to the tournament. We lost to Sweden big time, and as a young guy there, that was my first time. I was, just excited to be there. But if we would have shown up the day after, I remember coming after we got trounced by Sweden in the first game, and people are all over us. And you see Mario and you see Joe, and they like nothing happened. It's a new day. They're smiling. They're ready to go. And we took our cue from them. It's one of those things. Literally, you look at them, you're like, okay, Mario's fine, and he's joking with us. And if they would have been tighter, a little off, I'm sure it would have went through the whole team. So yeah, you're right. Sid's been through this a lot, and I'm sure guys looking at him are amazed. I remember when I played with Mario 2002, he was literally the best player in the world. He's 36 and been through his health issues, and Sid out here, how smart he is and how competitive, and the tournament he's already had. I agree. I think people can come and just focus on themselves as young guys and bring the energy, and you never know what's going to happen in a game and the different parts, but it is nice to be able to look down and know you have Sid and McDavid and McKinnon, and that's pretty impressive and awesome group to follow.
So, Iggy, you talk about all the guys who are great players, but really everybody in that room is a leader or a captain on their team, or is a go-to guy for the respective club team. How does it sort out so quickly throughout the tournament, kind of who, paces the team, or who is the leaders? Is it just the best players, like you mentioned, a guy like Mario joking around the next day, or is it, fall on younger guys who have been, great players throughout the league? We talk about Sid right now, but McDavid is, the best player in the world. Like, would he take a leadership role in that dressing room, or does he just defer to maybe the older guard?
If I'm guessing, I think he takes the leadership. I think guys look to him right away, and obviously Sid and, McDavid being right at the top of the game. They know, people play against him day in, day out. They know the impact he has. So I think everywhere he goes, he does have that. But one thing I think Hockey Canada does a great job is they prepare right from, under 17 program to the U18 to World Juniors. You see how much pressure's on those guys, those young guys. But each time you get used to dealing with a little more pressure, you get used to coming together quickly in a team, and whatever role you're given, you sign up for, you do it. So you learn these things all along the way, because each one feels like the biggest tournament, biggest game in the world, playing for Canada, whether, like I said, it's U17 and now being 4 nations, and next year super pumped for Olympics. So yeah, it's one of those things. These guys have all been used to it. I didn't check, but I'll bet you every single guy played for Canada right before, and you wait and see what the coach has. You're not sure when you show up to these, but I'll tell you, you're pretty excited if they give you a spot on McDavid's line or Sid's line, because that's probably one of the top lines and going to be playing lots.
with Jarome Iginla, and one of these teams is going to win tonight, and then we're going to resume the NHL play on Saturday, so everyone's going to be back in the room basically by tomorrow, certainly by Saturday. And, your 2 gold medals in 02 and 10 were both against the Americans. The first in Salt Lake, the second in Vancouver. What was it like going back into the room afterwards, and specifically with your American teammates? What was that like after you won gold and you beat the U.S.?
Oh yeah, it was awesome, and they were different. I get asked a lot which one was better, and I go back and forth. So like 02, Canada hadn't won in 50 years, and men's hockey at the Olympics, so we're trying to break that drought. We got off to a tough start, and then also those are guys, like I said, that I looked up to when I was 12 and 13 and 14, and watching Rock'em Sock'em on the bus, and watching these guys, being the highlight reels, and now I'm playing with Lemieux and on the line with Joe Sakic. So that was really, really special. And then when we won it, it was like super exciting. You knew Canada was watching at home, and I was a young kid. Whereas 2010, being in Vancouver, home soil, an awesome Olympics, the whole city was partying the whole time and enjoying it, and it was kind of trying to finish it off the right way, and it was nerve-wracking. That one was, when they tied it up late, like in the last 30 seconds, whatever it was hard to take. It was guys were in the room. It was quiet. Nobody said a word for probably the first 5 minutes, and then I think Niedermayer said, "Oh, okay, guys, someone's going to be a hero tonight." And then you get refocused, and but when we won that one, it was like Pee-wee throwing our gloves around. It was, what you dream about on the outdoor rink, but it was also a big relief because, as Canadians and hockey players, we wanted to do our part to try to finish the Olympics the right way, and we also knew we'd never hear the end of it if U.S. won.
So, Iggy, we had Prongs on last week, and he was talking about the Vancouver one. I believe it was Drew Doughty that was kind of late for a meeting, like kind of showed up, kind of slept in. I mean, everyone has their different approach to the game, but I mean, were you surprised as you mentioned, the anxiety and everything that comes with the pressure? But here's a young kid that was like, yeah, I can find a way to sleep through my alarm and just kind of walk in with the fans and show up, and probably played 28 minutes that night.
Oh yeah, he's a special character for sure, and it is cool. It's like you can see the intensity in some of the guys, and everybody's intense in their own way to get to this level and be successful. But yeah, guys carry it so much different. You can see, Connor McDavid or McLennan or Crosby. You can see that intensity, and then you look, and Drew Doughty loves competing. He looks like he's always having fun and never gets flustered. And yeah, I remember that, and it would probably happen to the right guy because it didn't bother him at all. And he was. I've slept through stuff before too, and it would have bothered me a lot more if it was at that meeting and he was the right guy. So, yeah, pretty awesome that it worked out.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a fun one tonight, and the whole country's waiting for it, and we'll see how it plays out. Yeah. Hopefully it plays out like in 10 and 02, right, Noodles?
Yeah, Iggy, I got one last one before you go, because we were talking about this earlier in the week, and O-Dog brought this up. So he was in the building on Saturday night, and it was electric, and Mario walked out, and the crowd went nuts. But in his mind, all of a sudden had this daydream, and he said, what would you do if Mario came out and he was holding the flag, but the other guy on the other side was Spengler Cup silver medalist Jason Strudwick? If they announced Jason Strudwick and Mario Lemieux, like said, he would have passed out from like surprise. I mean, what do you make if Struddy walked out with Mario Lemieux?
Well, I've never thought about it.
Nobody has. But
nobody has.
I know Struddy's a proud Canadian. He definitely wouldn't have looked as athletic as Lemieux, that's for sure. Long, skinny legs.
He'd be looking to fight, though. He'd probably do pretty well.
Yeah, that's right.
He'd probably be doing pretty well. Yeah. All right. Well, Iggy, we always appreciate you doing this. Enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the resuming of the NHL, I guess, on Saturday as well. And we'll catch up again down the road. Thank you for this.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Have a good night.
You got it. There's Jarome Iginla, former Kamloops Blazer as well, right?
God.
Teammate of Struddy.
And he just gives it to Struddy in the group chat. He refused to go after him.
He's not leaving him alone.
I was baiting him. I was baiting him.
What do you say to Strud, your boy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, those Blazers got to stick together publicly.
It is pretty cool, though. He's told that story about Niedermayer before. And, I can imagine giving up that late goal and how much, the angst in between, the third period and going into overtime after giving away a lead. Because you're right. If the U.S. wins there, you never hear the end of it. And maybe, that is something they hang their hat on. That's what we've been talking about for 2 hours now, is Canada in the biggest moments have been able to get through. Outside of 1980, the miracle on ice.
Right, and that wasn't best on best. Like that's important to clarify. Like, we were talking about yesterday where I'm like, the Americans haven't won anything but the 96 World Cup, and people...
Right.
Writing me and in the comments are like, they won in 80. That was amateur. Wayne Gretzky wasn't there in 1980 playing. Guy Lafleur wasn't cruising around because Canada obviously would have won the gold. But, in terms of best on best, it was the 96 World Cup. And this is the truth that when I remember, I was young, you would have been playing in the league. When the Americans won in 96, it was, here's the next generation. The Americans have caught us. Here they go. Gretzky's coming to an end. Lemieux's got health issues, and then it stopped in 2002. And then it stopped in 2010. It was the same. Look, the Americans are coming. Look how good they are. They can do it. And then when Canada beat them in 10 and then dominated in 14 and the Americans just faded, this is what has happened consistently for 30 years, where the Americans have come in waves. Yeah. And you could certainly make the argument this is the best group, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say the one in the 90s was pretty damn good, too. If you look at it with Chelios and Hull and Modano and Kachuk, they were loaded, that team.
They certainly were.
But this team's a great team. The Americans are a great team. There's no question. But until they actually win one of these, they're still the little brother. I'm sorry. Canada's the powerhouse, and that's what's on the line tonight.
You have to bust through. That's what it is. You on paper, this looks like a very, pretty equal
coin flip game.
Coin flip game. And it should be right now with where both nations are in their development of hockey. Honestly, my biggest fear tonight and is that Binnington doesn't get it done because we're talking Canada goaltending. Crease crisis. You're going to be on Jay yelling and screaming, going, crease crisis.
Absolutely.
We don't have a Vezina winner, or we don't have a superstar in net like other countries. If they win tonight, it just quiets it down for another year until the Olympics.
Big time. That's it.
But if they lose tonight and Binnington allows a bad goal, then it's, okay, well, why wasn't Logan Thompson there? Do we have a star goaltender to push through? The cycle is down right now. We don't have the Brodeurs, the Waz, right down the line, and which is rightfully so. But
it's just accurate. That's just the truth.
It's not wrong. But I feel like, and I've treated it like, the 7 out of the 10, I believe, last 10 Cup winners have been Canadian. They've got the job done. So Binnington's got to get the job done, or else we are going to circle that position and say,
it's a great point.
Need development.
It would be so deflating, if that happens, where it's, they're down 3-0, 10 minutes in, and it's 3 goals on 5 shots, and you're like, come on, man. Like that. Yeah. That could happen. Listen, it could happen to Hellebuck, too. And if Hellebuck, that's why there's a lot of pressure on Hellebuck. Binnington's got his cup, and Binnington he'll have to battle for the net for forever with Canada. There's no guarantees he's the man next year. But Hellebuck is the guy. But if he can't perform in a big game like this, he opens the door to someone else passing him for next year.
Exactly.
And USA Hockey opening the door to maybe we need change. And, I was thinking about that, the 5 stories to watch as I get to my Hayesy B list. At number 5, I have that goalie battle because I think it is just so obvious. It kind of goes without saying. I think it's more directed towards Binnington. But again, because Hellebuck has been so great, plays in a Canadian city, and his playoff stats the last couple of years have been what they've been. They haven't been good. They've completely fallen off a cliff. So there's a ton of pressure on both guys and the nature of the position. Number 4 is Makar in, McAvoy out. This could be higher. I think this is you cannot underrate the significance of this.
Oh, no, you don't underestimate it because it's Makar could play 30 minutes tonight.
Yes, he could be the best player on the ice tonight, and no one would be surprised.
Right.
Like if he dominated the game, you'd say that's him, man. That's what he does. That's why he won a Conn Smythe. What he did in the Cup final that year was unbelievable.
That's Cale Makar. And there's
an
opportunity. Right, there's an opportunity. Now, make no bones about it. McAvoy was a difference maker on Saturday night.
Big time.
Massive. He set the tone. I've never seen McDavid get hit like that.
I was trying to think that myself. I don't remember that happening. I mean, he danced McAvoy earlier in the game.
He did, but I mean, McDavid, you could freeze frame, and he was horizontal in the air.
He got smoked, crushed.
Like that is one. That hit is one where that's on the front cover of a sports page the next day. The McDavid like horizontal in the air from that hit. Like that was a ridiculous.
And then they scored right away to tie the game.
Clean hit too. Yeah, exactly. Like that wasn't a dirty hit, and honestly, like it wasn't predatory. It was just a massive
play. Great NHL hit.
Yeah, like that was. Man, oh man, he stepped in it like that was.
Yeah, he leveled him, man. And like there was some chat. I don't know if you guys talked about it. Like, should someone have tried to fight McAvoy? And I don't know.
You know what? Like the one thing is McDavid. I give him credit. He got hit hard. He got up and played.
Yep.
Like it wasn't. Hey, we got to have now. Maybe regular season that's a little different. That's a fight but in this scenario where a penalty or a power play could be a difference maker. He just got up and played hard.
You got to let it go.
I respected him on that.
I agree. So Makar in is huge. McAvoy out, especially in Boston. He's the guy representing the Bruins for the Americans. That's number 4. Number 3, admittedly, this is biased to this city, but I got the Leaf players at number 3. Like, how does Auston play? How does Mitch play? We know their history in big games. They got to own it. That's the reputation. You know, them, the team, the Leafs have the reputation. The players have the reputation that when the going gets tough, they don't necessarily get going, and they need big games tonight. And I'm very curious to see how comfortable they look, how much they play, who they play with, how Auston is feeling. He missed the game on Monday. He's been banged up. Marner, he had his opportunity to play with McDavid. It didn't really work out. They moved him down the lineup. So does he get in a position where he can move back up based on how he's playing? I'm not quite certain. But the Leaf players and the roles that they play in this game, I've got at number 3. Stories to watch tonight. Number 2, I got Sid on an island. Sidney Crosby, the guy. I referenced it earlier. I was watching some video of the 2004 World Cup, which is again largely a forgotten World Cup. But Lemieux was on the team. So you go from '87 Canada Cup to the 2004 World Cup. Lemieux was a part of it the whole way. And obviously there was parts in the '90s there where he wasn't. But 87, 02, 04, that's Mario. And he was a part of it all. He's a leader in all of it. And that's Sid. Like Sid since 2010, 2014, 2016, and now 2025. The guy is a machine.
Yeah,
and in terms of legacy building and all that kind of stuff, this is something that the other players didn't have an opportunity to play in, but he could get something that no one else has. Right. Like fairly or unfairly, Gretzky couldn't play in an event like this, or Lemieux or whatever. He can just add another notch. 3 cups, 2 gold medals, a World Cup, World Juniors, 4 nations. Like it just
it just adds to
it becomes a resume that's basically unparalleled in men's hockey. It's unparalleled.
Yeah, it is impressive, and you're right. It just adds to the legacy. Just all of these storylines, you can just dive deeper into them. But I feel like. O said it yesterday. This feels like a legacy McDavid play.
Yep.
I just don't. You heard Iggy talk and like Sid. Like it's an honor to play on Sid's line. It's an honor to play. Like I just feel like he's built for this. And let's not forget, if he doesn't get on the bird tonight or tomorrow with Kyle Dubas, and he's going back to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And if he chooses, like, I don't want to be asked to be traded. I want to finish my career in Pittsburgh. These are his Stanley Cups.
This is the rest of the way.
Stanley Cup tonight, and the Olympics next year is his Stanley Cup based on where he is on his club team.
Yep. And he's not stupid. He knows that the Pens, they're not winning anything anytime soon. They're not even close. Like, not even close. So I got Sid on an island at number 2. And number 1, stories to watch for tonight, I have the Tkachuk brothers, because I really think it's been their tournament, quite frankly.
Right.
Like it really has been. Like the way that they've been the voice boxes for everyone. They've been doing the media rounds.
Yep.
They've been up there on the podium together. They've been talking about the group chat. They've been responding to Hagel. You know, the Tkachuk name is a legacy name in USA hockey.
Yeah.
This is the Tkachuk brothers. Yeah, exactly. And I'm fascinated to see what they bring tonight as Americans on American soil.
The thing that I worry, in I know Matthew and Brady quite well. I know, Keith very well as too. What worries me and what Canada could maybe feast on is their emotion in a too excited way. Because Matthew and both of them run hot. So if you could find a way in a scrum to draw an extra punch from one of them and the ref goes, that's it, and you get 2 out of that and you score on that power play, that's the difference maker because they run hot and you know that they're going to be going for broke tonight. It's all out there. And Matthew's a guy, I remember when he played in the playoffs against the Oilers, it was Cassian chasing him around. It was Evander Kane and, and Edmonton, Evander Kane went right at him and drew him in instead of Matthew drawing them in. So that's if I'm looking at a game plan for Canada is, hey, engage the Tkachuk brothers, but whistle to whistle. And if you have to take a punch, you got to take a punch, and you hope that you get a power play out of it. Almost let them run hot. That's the way I would do. That's how you get to them.
Let me ask you this question in terms of prediction. Canada's blowing out the U.S. 5-0, 5 minutes to go. Brady Tkachuk, do you think he's jumping guys? Do you think he's doing what he does in Ottawa where he's dying for a fight and tries to grab somebody? I think he would. I think that's what would happen.
I was just going to say yes. I feel like it's because if it's Marchand that says something to him, you'll pop him in the lips. But he plays like that, and this is the one thing. Like he plays like that on a Tuesday in November.
Yes.
So he's playing like that tonight.
That's what I'm saying. Like if it's a blowout, I think he's blowing a gasket. Brady.
Sure.
And I'm curious to see how it's handled. The Americans may just laugh at him, or Canadians could laugh at him and say, get out of here. And if you go at Marchand, go for it. What he'll do is he'll pitchfork you or something. That's
exactly.
like Brad Marchand is the definition of crafty and veteran when it comes to guys trying to come and get him. Like he'll chirp him and then Brady will come at him and he'll sandbag him somehow. Like that. Yeah. That's how I could see it playing out.
And we got to go, I know, but keep in mind, there's lots of rivalries that are playing with each other.
Yes.
Sam Bennett knocked Marchand out
last
year. Knocked
with
him
a pretty, it was kind
vicious,
of a forearm shiver, man.
Well, that was a punch or forearm in the jaw, knocked him out and out of that series.
Yes.
And they're playing together. It'll be,
now,
if they win tonight, they're having a beer together.
Absolutely, because Marchand's done it the opposite way many times. He's got some guys too where it's like, ugh. All right. Yeah. Okay, we'll head to Boston one more time. Tee up the game. Ryan Rishaug coming up. Best bets later in the hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, best bets coming up later in the hour. The PGA Tour has issued a statement after their constructive working session at the White House today.
Oh, yeah? How was that?
Yeah, everything's coming together. The reunification of golf. It is rapidly approaching. So we'll see what comes with that. But we got Canada, U.S., TD Garden down in Boston. Go time tonight. And this is one of those games, man. I do think we'll reference it for a long time, especially if it is a great game. If it's a blowout or boring or something like that, that could be a different story. But I think if there's a ton of energy, there's animosity, there's maybe lead changes, it's close in the third, that's what you're looking for. And I think that's what we're all hoping for tonight, which will include a Canada win in the end, of course.
Yeah.
Got to conclude with a Canada win in the end. But, let's head down there now to Boston. Here's Ryan Rishaug. You've been down there for a few days, Shogger. I mean, how would you compare and contrast the energy, the vibe tonight, compared to the last couple of days now that we're finally close to puck drop?
Yeah, I would say it's like we're not in Canada. Right? In Montreal, this was a huge deal, and everybody was fired up for that Saturday night game. So, staying right downtown, in and around the rink, just a little bit of a different feel, I think, when you get north of the border for these events. But lots of people are ready to go outside, lots of Canadians, lots of high fives walking to the rink and such. So I think it's good, and not the same though. Did I say just not the same?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't beat the Bell Center on a Saturday night. You just can't beat it.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
No. Anyway, I'm with you on that. Go ahead, Noodles.
So, Shogger, what do you think is the biggest storyline? I mean, is it Sidney Crosby? Is it, McDavid who's got to grab this? From a Canada side, what are you circling or focusing on for them to have success tonight?
Jordan Binnington needs to not get in the way. I think he needs to just have a solid night and not have goals going in that has the bench and everybody sagging. And I'm not trying to be hard on the goaltender here, Noodles, but I think if you look at what's going on the ice, you get McAvoy out, Makar in. That's a huge swing from the last game. You look at these lineups and amazing players on both sides, but where you hit a brick wall in this head-to-head is in net. And
right.
So Jordan Binnington, I would say, has given up a softie in each of the games. And I think that Canada's been able to survive it for the most part. But I just think tonight he needs to lock it down in a way that he hasn't yet. And so to me, that's my focus. I think that's the difference tonight is, if Binnington can find a little bit more of a level than he's found so far. Am I being too hard on him, buddy? You can hold me accountable if you want.
No, not at all, because that's what we've been discussing. We've been discussing it forever, and I said just before you came on, my hope is that if Canada wins, then we're not talking about, a goaltending summit and, hey, we're in big trouble heading into the Olympics. If they lose, and as you just mentioned, Binnington is at the forefront, then, the headlines are Crease crisis and what's going on here and where are we at with Canada. So you're bang on with it.
Yeah, and you know what, guys? I felt heading into the third game that Hale would have been a good direction to go in, because if you play Hale in that game and he plays really, really well, now you've got a goalie that's put together an excellent game and you've got a decision to make for the final, right? You can kind of make your call right there. If he doesn't, play fantastic and you likely squeak through anyways, then, you go back to Binnington and that's fine too. But I think by going all three with him, they gave themselves absolutely no choice. They never gave anybody else a chance to grab it in a more meaningful way than Binnington had. And I think that third game was absolutely the place to do it. I think Binnington earned the second start by being clutch in overtime in the first game. So, of course, you give him that matchup. But I think after what happened in the second game, that's your window right there to say, all right, we're going to rest you, give him a look. And now you've maybe got a couple options on the table, because the minute Binnington started that game, he was starting the final if they got to it, almost regardless of his performance. With Ryan Rishaug ahead of the game tonight, Canada, U.S. down in Boston. In terms of the amount of minutes you would expect the top players to play, forwards in particular, let's start with McDavid. Do you see 24 minutes tonight, 25? Is that possible in a game that's such a high pace like we're expecting tonight? What would be the minutes prediction for you? Yeah, I mean, he can handle it. He's a horse. I see the number of double shifts he gets back in Edmonton and long shifts, and he can absolutely handle those minutes, and the pace isn't an issue for him. It's not like you're asking Zach Hyman to play 23 minutes out there. Right. As that's a loaded statement, but it's not. It's different for Connor McDavid, right? So I think some of it depends on special teams. If there are a number of power plays, right, he'll eat up good buck and a half of those. That's where his minutes creep up at Edmonton. If it's an even strength game and there's not a lot of power plays, it wouldn't surprise me if it was in 20 to 22 range, because they are going to want to roll some lines and keep some other guys engaged. But my guess is he's in that 20 to 22 and a half range.
So you mentioned Connor, and Coop mixed up the lines. It was Brayden Point that slid up. There was Mitch Marner that came off that line and went down. You think it was the right move? And did you? It's a lot tougher to find people to play with Connor than you would think, is it not? Yeah, and that's not any knock on him. I mean, I recall covering Sidney Crosby at multiple Olympics and, best on best, where a lot of the discussion was trying to figure out a line that works, trying to find a line mate that works. I think that decision was a game changer for Jon Cooper. Like when Brayden Point went in there, it worked immediately, and now they've got another full game under their belt of it working. Brayden Point is
He can just do it all. He can get in the corners and grind if he needs to. He can make plays. He can put the puck in the net when he needs to. It's been a great fit between him and McDavid, and just an incredibly high-skilled player, but who also plays the game with an energy that will meet the moments. And, Mitch Marner's energy, Mitch Marner's physical engagement hasn't met the moment, and it didn't work. He was never going to be the guy that went into the corner and grinded it out for the line and to get the pucks out of there. And we were a little skeptical heading in, having been people that watch McDavid all the time. I'm looking at that line going, who's going to get pucks for him here? And that ended up being exactly what the problem was. So Point, much better suited to do that than Mitch Marner was. And it'll be interesting to see if Marner, who's had a couple of moments here, can find a way to contribute from where he is, because they desperately need him tonight.
Well, it'll be interesting in terms of that Maple Leaf conversation. Obviously, we're having it a lot here. And, the big dog on the American team is supposed to be Matthews, but he hasn't really played up to that. I would argue the Tkachuk brothers, some of the defensemen, Slavin, Werenski, Hellebuck's been outstanding. But, you look at Auston as the captain. What would you expect out of Matthews tonight?
Yeah, I mean, this is where, players that want to be considered among the best in the game right now, this is where you have to come out and find a way to make a difference. And Auston Matthews is the captain and is a player who should be in the discussion of the highest-end players in the league. I would expect Auston Matthews to try and find himself a moment tonight. He has the ability to do it. He's got the shot to do it. And I think that Leafs core, you guys, they can't take these opportunities lightly to play on big stages in really meaningful games. This is a moment for Matthews to really test himself and to push himself on a stage like this, because he wants to play on much bigger stages than this. And so how he does tonight, you would have to think he'd be a player and a person who sort of looks at this and goes, okay, this is a really good opportunity here mid-season to see where I'm at in these moments. So I'm fascinated to see what he's going to have in the tank tonight. Now, we do know he's been a little banged up, and we always allow for that, but he's good to go.
All right.
So, speaking of banged up, Schauger, I mean, we're all focused on the Four Nations face-off, and you look at a lot of general managers and owners are showing, some angst behind the scenes, because you've got some players, Theodore, McAvoy, the Tkachuk brothers are banged up. Matthews doesn't seem to be 100%. They got to play on Saturday, or the club teams are playing on Saturday. Connor McDavid could win or lose tonight. He's playing at 1:00 in Philadelphia on Saturday afternoon. I mean, there are ramifications that are a turnaround 24 hours from now. All of a sudden, you got to snap out of it, and you're back into, hey, we're in a playoff chase down the stretch here. How do you think that's going to go over?
Yeah, and that was a lot of talk heading in. That's why maybe some of us weren't sure exactly what the caliber was going to be. The players set the tone very early in this tournament that they were not here to tiptoe through the tulips. It was going to be all in, and we've had a fantastic tournament as a result. But to your point, we've seen some significant injuries. We've seen some tough stuff. Some guys are getting sick. Some guys are getting worn down while the rest of the league has their feet up on a beach, chilling out and reloading. So a great example in McDavid, Ekholm and Arvidsson too. I do think that the players have just decided they're putting that for the most part aside, that they're just willing in this moment to sort of put it all on the line regardless of what it might mean. I think the only difference we will see, guys, is like, for instance, Matthew Tkachuk, right? We saw him pull himself from that game. And I think, if that's a playoff game, he doesn't do that. I do think that players, if they feel they're at risk of significant injury that's going to hurt them, they're probably not going to be willing to play through the same thing you would in a Stanley Cup final. But beyond that, they're blocking shots. They're making plays and taking huge hits. It's all on the line here, except maybe that last 5% where you'd play through something you absolutely shouldn't.
Enjoy it tonight, Ryan. It's going to be a blast down there, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
All right, take care, guys.
There's Ryan Rishaug joining us here from Boston ahead of the game tonight.
He's not wrong. I mean, the Bennington thing, it's not the elephant in the room. It's the truth. Like it is goaltending in one game scenario, unless it's just a rout. If it's 6-1 and Hellebuck falls apart, but then it's still a goaltending story.
Yeah.
To me, it always is going to be, unless it's just irrelevant. But I feel like it's not going to be irrelevant in this one game takes all scenario.
Yeah, seems unlikely. Because, even if there's you can go back to 2010, the golden goal, where Miller's probably like, man, I should have had that. Sid got it off quick, but from the angle, it was
bad
along
angle,
the ice.
5-hole. It's not a great
moment.
goal.
Got to have it. Yeah, that's the thing. If that goal goes in on Binnington tonight in overtime, you're like, you got to have that. And conversely, if it goes on Hellebuck, you got to have that. But
you know what? The thing that's lost in all of this is there's overtime, which is 3-on-3, which is not like the NHL format.
Yep.
And then there's a shootout if you go 10 minutes. So
that's a good point. Imagine a shootout tonight for that.
That
takes away everything.
98? Who went to the shootout where Hasek won?
That was 98.
Yeah, 98. And Gretzky didn't. Who didn't shoot? Gretzky didn't shoot.
Gretzky, right? Mark Crawford didn't put him out.
Yeah, but it just I feel like that would put a damper if it's like, hey, you know what, you've had an unbelievable 60 minutes and then 10 minutes of 3-on-3 that probably had chances at both ends, and then it's a shootout.
Yeah,
and you're like,
that would dampen a lot. I mean, that really would for both. I mean, whoever wins, they're gonna say who cares. These are the rules, and those are the rules.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
so Doogie is, you know what? I must have misspoken though here. Cup final rules: 20 minutes, 5-on-5 golden goal.
Oh,
so
beautiful!
I'm sorry. So
I didn't know that either.
I did
not know that.
That's good. So we're not going to run into that scenario. So Doogie on top of it.
That's
Thank you
great
for the
to hear.
row.
I did not. I wasn't aware that they made rule changes for this game.
I kept thinking if this goes to 3-on-3, I don't know. I mean, it just so it is NHL flat out rules here. So it looks like which is great.
That's the way it should be. That's exactly that. Mean credit to the NHL because they knew what we were just talking about would have been the reality. That the idea of having a shootout would just dampen everything. You can't have it.
Yeah.
Good. So we're guaranteed to see a winner tonight. Someone is going to score a game-winning goal tonight.
Awesome.
All right, we'll come back with our best bets. Powered by FanDuel. Tee up the game one more time. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Got a little 3-game parlay here. Under the number 5.5. I just feel it feels 3-2. 2-1, 4-1, maybe.
Yeah.
Just feels like a tightly checked, not a ton of chances, ease into it type night. That's just kind of what I'm anticipating. Sid with a point, McDavid 3+ shots. That paying plus 546. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Live same game parlays now available for every NBA game, NHL game, wherever you want to find it on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 18+, physically located in Ontario.
Yeah. Well, listen, I feel like it is going to be a tight check game. I don't know. Every time you've got that feeling, it's going to be.
I'd love to see 6-5. I would absolutely adore that. I want to be wrong desperately. I would love lead changes. I'd love craziness, hits, fights.
But 6-5 Canada. If it's 6-5 U.S., we've got a goaltending problem. That's the problem I see.
I hear you.
Right? Because there are going to be bad goals involved. Not all 6 are going to be beauties, right? If you lose 6-5 and if you're Canada and you lose 6-5, we're talking about Binnington. Yeah. If they win, if Canada wins 6-5, it's kind of like, hey, he got it done regardless. And maybe you look at Hellebuck and go, geez, that's a 6 spot. Yep. So I don't know. You're right. Lead changes, excitement. I just feel like we'll all be on the edge of our seat, but this is why you play the games.
This is why you play.
Yeah.
This is why you play. And I think in reality, if they lose, that goaltending chat is happening anyway. That's if they lose 1-0 tonight, people are going to be like, what are we going to do next year? Blah, blah, blah. But I do think on the other side, if Binnington plays well and they win, then everyone will breathe and say, see, that's why Hockey Canada did what they did. It feels like it was premeditated. Before the tournament started, they're just like, Binnington's playing, and that's it. That's just what it's going to be.
And Army even said it on our show. He's like, they're in the final. You basically, this guy's gotten you to the final, regardless of whether you like him or not or whatever. You've got a 1-game scenario. Yes, it's on the road. But he's won on the road in a Game 7, so he's got to replicate it again. And he was a big factor in that game. Keep in mind, like when they won the Cup, he was a big factor on the road in Game 7. I want to say that game was like, wasn't it 2-1? Like it was a tight.
Oh, yeah.
And he made some huge saves.
Exactly what we're anticipating kind of what it to be like tonight. It's like 2-1 Game 7 last year in Florida.
Right,
and
exactly.
Same thing back in 2019. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of it tonight. We'll have a full breakdown tomorrow, as we always do. And thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate it. It's going to be a fun one tonight. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the game tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.